So talking
Now,
about the domestic market obligation, some people say that the MIP or Mitra Instansi Pemerintah or government agency partner is one of the solution, and they're talking about the implementing right now this year.
I mean, there are a lot of moving parts, with regard to implementing policies such as these. The first is that this policy seems to envisage that if a company cannot meet its DMO, and if there are penalties, then that amount should be set aside and given to another agency so that coal producers who are fulfilling their DMO, they can be compensated. But like I said, there are a lot of moving parts. There is the DMO angle, there is the HBA angle, there is the various other angles. There's a fair amount of coordination involved between ministries to get consensus. I'm not aware of any regulation that has been finalized as yet, although it's been reported in the press for the last couple of years. If there is a regulation, then please point it out to us. We have not seen it. So there's a lot of talk in the media about it, but unfortunately, there's no regulation. But in principle, the concept is good, and it could help what you call coal companies who meet their DMO, like Bumi. We exceed our DMO because we supply 30% of our coal domestically. And when other suppliers cannot meet the requirement of PLN, then Bumi is always requested, can you make up this quantity? And that too at the subsidized price. Supposing there was no price subsidy, and supposing Bumi royalty was the same as some of the other people who are not IUPKs, actually Bumi's revenue can go up by more than $2 billion. And if it goes up by more than $2 billion, it can become the most profitable company in Indonesia in the sector. But we are a responsible national citizen. We respect regulation. So we follow whatever is regulation in this regard.
Okay.
We are hoping that perhaps there could be some thought that goes into rationalizing the whole process.
Okay.
Such that there is
what kind of thoughts
across IUPKs and others.
What is your concern?
Well, it's a concern for all IUPKs. Just yesterday, I received a message from another producer that they said, we heard your webinar on Saturday by IIE. And you've made a very valid point with regard to differential royalties, and IUPKs actually get penalized more than the others. So why can't we join hands in that? Now, this is what their suggestion is. My view on this is that each company has its own calculations, has its own imperatives. So they need to work out their numbers. Maybe they can get hold of the association who can take up the case at a sector level with the authorities. But definitely, there needs to be some rationalization, because without that, it'll be difficult to invest and justify investments in the non-coal sector and in coal downstream projects.
Okay. Last but not least is how do you see the outlook for the Bumi's performance for the rest of 2024, and what is the strategy that will be implemented by Bumi during this year?
We don't guide net income, right?
Sorry?
But we have given a guidance for the year.
Okay.
The guidance for the year basically is that we will produce a volume of 78 to 82 million tons.
Okay.
Now, if we produce 78 million tons, we've also given a guidance on price, which can be $69 per ton up to $79 per ton. So if you take that factor into account, our revenue this year can be a minimum of $5.4 billion and a maximum of $6.5 billion. And the costs, that is the cost that we incur is anywhere between $47 per ton to $49 per ton. So at the lower band, which is 78 million tons, and the lower price, which is $69 per ton, we can have a margin of $3.7 billion. And if we look at the higher band of 82 million tons, the revenue can be 6.5 billion. And the margins can be about $4 billion. Now, those are the kind of numbers that any analyst, including those in CNBC, can do their arithmetic and figure out, what the potential is if our guidances are met, whether it's in the lower band or the higher band. And ultimately, we have to adjust this for taxes, for royalties, for levies, for profit sharing, for royalty penalties, and any other expenses that we incur. And we must remember that whatever numbers we talk about, we can only take profit for 51% of APC that we own, and 90% of our admin, and only 23% from BRMS, which is our share, and around 20% of Dharma Hinva. So essentially, if the price subsidies become more rational, if the DMO becomes more rational, because if you're producing 900 million tons, that's what I heard as the target, and 25% remains your DMO, I think very few companies will be able to comply with the 25% rule because the market is not there domestically for it right now.